Hi there. I'm Marj Fleming, and I'm the founder and CEO of Launch Point Leadership. And I'd like to welcome you to Wednesday Wisdom, which we do every other week in the summer and every week in the fall, winter, and spring. Tonight, I have a guest with me by the name of Shelley Prevost, Dr. Shelley Prevost, and she is the co-founder of the Big Self School, which is kind of a big self statement in itself. I'm pretty impressed with the name of that. It's a personal growth school that supports mental and emotional well-being for leaders through coaching sessions, books, podcasts, and sometimes events. She's a licensed therapist, and she does a lot of business coaching and just helps leaders be their best selves, their most authentic selves. So, Shelley, welcome to our Wednesday Wisdom. We're happy to have you with us tonight.
I'm so glad to be here with you, Marj. It's been a while, so thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Shelley has focused a great deal of her practice on Enneagrams. But could you give us sort of a summary of the Enneagram structure? Now, you said it's a map, so I get that, and of course, I did some research on it. I was introduced to Enneagrams years ago when what was happening with it at that time was a lot of my friends who were like playing bridge or having an evening of a book club or something would sort of dabble in it, but it wasn't part of the business scene at that time. So it's come a long ways in terms of our thinking. But could you give us just a brief summary of the program, for lack of a better word, I guess?
Sure. So when people tell me they're interested in learning more about the Enneagram, I always direct them to what we call the centers of intelligence. And so these are three triads that, if you look at the diagram, they're divided perfectly among the three different numbers. And so you've got three numbers who are the body or the gut triad. And so these are types that really inhabit their body, and they pick up and they take in and they give information into the world through their five senses. And so these are people that just feel naturally really comfortable in their bodies. And so that's three different types. Three types are also a heart type, or they have emotional intelligence is what we would call it. And so these folks are really adept at understanding their own emotions and understanding the emotions of other people. They're very relational. I'm a heart type, and I always think about it like tentacles kind of coming out of my heart, and it's always picking up what other people are feeling on a very kind of subconscious level. And I think we're really good at picking up on those micro expressions. We can feel the energy in a room. So those are typically what the heart types will report that they experience. And then we have a triad, the head type. And so these are our real intelligent, kind of cerebral. They take in information and they process through what they think about it. These folks, they're very oriented toward their mental capacity. And so they're thinking and sometimes overthinking. A lot of our head types can kind of go, and we all can overuse our triad too. So those are the three types that it's a really good place for people to start.
So when you talk about the triads, I have a visual picture of the Mercedes symbol.
Nice, yeah.
Because it's broken down into three.
Three symmetric, yeah, that's totally.
Very good. Well, that's a great summary. That helps. And already I'm sitting here thinking, okay, where do I fit?
Yeah, and it's an exploration. This isn't something that I don't encourage people actually to take a test. I encourage people to, I have resources and books that I encourage that Ron and Renee actually suggested a couple weeks ago. And I find by far that's the best place to start, is to really read, to try to understand what these triads are, try to understand what the types are. Sometimes you find it immediately, and then other times it took me 1.5 years to figure out really what my type was. So that's where I would say people could start.
Well, for me now, that begs the question of, does the triad that you are, let's say, strongest in, for lack of a better phrase, can that change based on the circumstances in your life at the current time? Or is it so embedded that you keep going back to it and sometimes veer away? How does that work?
Yes, yeah. So there's different schools of thought around that. So I can tell you what I believe and what I'm taught, which is that we have one main type that we're born with.
Okay.
So we live in one triad. So we are either predominantly a body type, heart type, or a head type.
Okay.
We are more kind of natural in that space.
Okay.
The goal of the Enneagram and the growth work that people can do with it is to balance the three types, the three triads. And so if I'm mostly a heart type, then I do some work around just my thinking function, which for me is often repressed because I don't tend to naturally default to the rational kind of mental capacities. I definitely default to feeling and doing.
Yeah.
So I default into those. So I think there's, for my work is to kind of organize myself so I can be a little bit more balanced. But we typically, I believe, and a lot of people believe, that we have one dominant type that is with us for our whole lives.
Well, that's the term return to type. We hear that, those of us, for example, in the coaching business, and those of us in the training business understand that we can get people to try other things or to think other ways. But eventually we return to type because that's our type.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of, to grow beyond your type takes a lot of intention, like what you're saying, because we default to these fixed patterns, these habitual patterns. And so if you want to become a whole person or excel in your leadership or learn how to be more adaptive, then you really do have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And that's what this diagram shows you what you need to do.
Yeah, yeah. So are you finding, now that you are kind of immersed in it as part of your practice, I would say, are you finding that more individuals are interested in it? Are companies just beginning to get interested in it? Is it just an influx of interest in general? So it's about the same with both? How does that look?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think we're in this wave, maybe this like third wave of Enneagram kind of development. And so there's a lot of people doing really cool stuff with it right now. What tends to happen for me, what I see a lot, is an organization will reach out and they want to do, a typing for our team, for our senior leader team. And so they want to understand the diagnostic capacity of it. Like, tell me my type, help me figure out my type and my team's type, so that I can understand myself better and that I can empathize and lead with more just relational capacity. It's a powerful tool for developing empathy when you see that so many other people see the world differently than you. And this is what that looks like. So that tends to be what a business inquiry would be. But what I find is that for a lot of people, it's insufficient. They're like, I want more. Like, I want to go deeper with this. Like, I don't want to be just this fixed pattern of personality. Like, I see how limited I am, and I want to. So then they'll come back, come through the back door a little bit and do some coaching with me around it, because they see the transformative power, that potential. But it's really hard to get that level of depth in a 2-hour training or a half-day workshop. So people tend to they want more than they're able to get just in that business environment.
Well, I have one last question for you. Well, I might have two last questions for you, but the one that's on my mind right now is, are you seeing an uptick in general of, what would I call it? Intentionality within organizations that can be helped by the Enneagrams? And intentionality, by that I mean the way they lead and the way they make decisions.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And you know this, Marge, like I've been doing this work. I've done it with startups for a very long time. And I've been doing it for almost 12 years now. And at the time I started, and not with the Enneagram, but just with teaching emotional intelligence to business environments and leadership teams, it was almost like taking their medicine 10 or 12 years ago. They knew they needed it.
Yeah.
They didn't really love it. Like, I know I need to develop these listening skills and I need to be a little more adaptable, and, but now what's happening is it's, I don't know what's happening, but I do see that there's a shift in a lot of organizations that before they didn't know what they were asking for, and now they see the power of learning some, I don't like this word and you might not either, but the soft skills. And so knowing that if I learn about myself and I learn about other people, it's going to actually be a return on our investment. And I think there's a cool factor a little bit right now, where I see people that once resisted it are more interested in what they know that it can do for their teams.
And I do have one last question that is completely off topic. And that is, how did you come up with, or what did you intend when you named your company the Big Self?
Yeah. So Big Self is
a cool thing.
Yeah. So it's funny though, because probably, oh my gosh, I don't even know, 6-8 years ago, I was journaling about something, and it was about Big Self. And when my husband and I were trying to decide what we wanted to call this thing, what is this thing we're building, I went back and saw that, and I was like, that's it. And then Big Self is actually, it's a Zen Buddhist concept. It's from Zen Buddhism. And so they talk about the difference between the big self and the little self. And so the little self is our ego, it's our identity, it's, the things that we tend to think about when we talk about the self. Mm-hmm. But the big self is like our higher consciousness. It's calling, it's purpose, it's something deeper that we aspire to. And so that was when I figured out the distinction there, I was like, that's it, because that's what we want to do with everything that we're creating, is help people be their big self.
Well, I love the name. It's it just sort of opens minds and opens doors and opens all sorts of things just in that one title. I love the name, and I've been wanting to know, but as you say, we haven't talked in quite some time.
I know, this has been a delight.
Good luck with the Enneagrams, and I would say if any of our watchers were interested in more information or being in touch with you, if they will let us know, we'll make that connection. Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening, Shelley.
Thank you. You too.
See you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.